One of the most common questions I get asked by players throughout the season, and especially coming into championship time, is how can I become more confident when I'm stepping onto the pitch? And the reality is that confidence comes from knowing that all the work's been done in the background and actually having a stack of evidence and having the experience that you've done the work. Evidence that you've ticked all the boxes, seeing the numbers improve both in the gym, on the pitch from a conditioning standpoint, and then experience whenever you actually feel that in training sessions by being able to take players on, go by players, get up and down the pitch at pace, and just feel that you're at a certain level as a result of the work that you've put in the months and I suppose the year beforehand. So in this video I'm going to run through the exact steps that you need to take to make sure all the work's been done, all the boxes are ticked, and you can ultimately step onto the pitch and cross the white line knowing you've got the work done and have that confidence in yourself and your ability. Personally, I've been on both sides of it myself. I've stepped out onto the pitch in the past with zero confidence and no one found rightly in the back of my head that I hadn't been doing the right type of work, or I was maybe doing the right work or ticking some of the boxes, but there was gaps in my preparation. I knew there was other stuff that I should have been doing. Maybe my lifestyle wasn't up to scratch, and overall I was stepping out onto the pitch knowing that other players had done more than me, other players were better prepared, and they had that fear of like, am I going to be exposed, am I going to be caught out, am I going to be the weak link when it comes to the game? And as a result of that, I tried to like overcompensate in different ways, almost like try to psych myself up to like a certain level where it's like, right, if I bring this level of energy, this level of intensity and just get really hyped up, I'll be able to almost like outwork it. And like you hear that quote, like outwork yourself out. And it was like, if I try harder or I just try and go all in on that one day, it's going to undo, 5, 6, 7 months of not doing the right type of work. And the reality is that just isn't the case. We've probably all been there before where you're listening to some mad music or some motivational video and you're ready to run through walls, but the reality is like you almost like overhype yourself, and when you overhype yourself and you're not in that sort of optimal state, you probably start trying things too much. For me personally, I was trying to like take on 5, 6 players at a time, trying to fucking get into big hits, play mad passes to try and overcompensate, and it takes away from what actually makes you good at playing your role. That obviously led to more frustration in me, getting bottled up, getting blown for over carrying, giving the ball away. Obviously personally you get frustrated with that, teammates get pissed off, and you come away from the game just annoyed that you haven't impacted the game to the level that you wanted to. If we flip that to today, like I can confidently put my hands up and say literally since COVID, so what's that, 2020, like the last 5 years, probably coming into 6 years, I've literally nailed everything like to a T. From a training standpoint, it's been the most consistent I've been in terms of speed, conditioning, managing nutrition, managing body composition, keeping on top of niggles, even though there's been injuries in there. I've been consistently showing up day in, day out, and like that compound effect of doing the work and actually seeing the evidence and having the experience of it paying off is like massive, and it can only be achieved by actually doing the work. So we're going to get into that today in terms of what work you actually need to be doing, and the sooner you implement it, the sooner you follow through on it, the sooner you start feeling that confidence coming onto the pitch. So I'm going to give you the exact checklist that I use every single week to make sure that I'm covered, to make sure that we're building momentum, we're building consistency, because that's where the real magic happens. So you'll probably hear me talk about this time and time again. There's 3 key areas that we look at, and I call them the high performance habits. You've got your training, you've got your nutrition, and you've got your lifestyle. And this is essentially what we build like potential performance around. This is what we chat about inside our academy, inside our one-to-one program. Any sort of steps we put in place, it's around these 3 key areas because they're the big drivers that ultimately maximize your performance. The first one we're going to cover is training. So when we're looking at our training, we can break it down into a couple of different areas. Obviously, we've got the physical side of things, but you've also got the technical and tactical side of things. With the technical and tactical, you're going to be getting a lot of that from your team training sessions, but you can obviously do your extra skills work in there to make sure that you're getting extra touches in, things are going well. Maybe if something hasn't gone too well in a team session or a game, you can give yourself that wee bit of extra practice, I suppose, and extra reps in your own time. Again, to build the confidence, know that you're going well, and then when it comes to the game, you've done that shot, that pass, that skill, you've got so many reps in of it that it just becomes second nature, and you just do it without thinking. But what we want to chat about here today, obviously, is the physical side of things. I'm an S&C coach at the end of the day. That's what I know. That's what I chat about. We'll leave the tactical stuff to the team sport coaches. But obviously, the big thing from a physical standpoint, we need to have a fucking plan in place. Plan that is relative to the time of the year to make sure that you're getting the right type of work done in the right amounts at the right times, so you can push on in the physical areas that are required, but also recover well in between, be fresh and ready to come into your team training game so that you can perform at your absolute best. That's the whole reason we do all the training at the end of the day, is to perform in our team sessions, in our games. So we want to set our training up in a way that allows us to do that. Like, there's so many players who are probably ticking the right boxes. They're going to the pitch, maybe doing a bit of work. They're going to the gym, doing a bit of work, and maybe doing a bit of off-field conditioning and that as well, which is all good and on theory, but maybe it's just the amount of work that they're doing, the type of work that they're doing, the volume of work that they're doing for the time of the year just doesn't match up. A lot of players are still training like they should be in the off season when it comes to in season, and they're wondering why they feel heavy leg, lethargic, slow, sore, and just missing that sort of burst and freshness whenever that they want to experience whenever it comes to championship time. So if that resonates with you and that hits home and you're thinking, fuck, that sounds like me, make sure you check out the links description down below where you have our in-season program, our off-season program, depending on what time of the year you're at. Get yourself in one of them and we'll cover all that for you. So when it comes to training, like one of the big things that we preach is having a holistic S&C program in place. So what actually makes up a holistic S&C program? The big thing is covering all the physical qualities that you need to thrive in today's game. For us and for Gaelic players, hurlers, camogues, we have obviously speed. In that speed, you've got your max speed, acceleration, change of direction. You've got your conditioning, and we do that both on feet and off feet. We have then in the gym, we have our strength and power work. We've got our hypertrophy, our sort of robustness type work as well. But the big thing is we want to be getting, again, the right type of work done in the right amounts at the right times. So the big thing here is like obviously understanding what time of the year that you're in, what are the goals of that season, and then setting your program up in a way that complements that. Looking at your team training schedule, what do they have on, and then plugging and playing your sessions in and around that then. So for the likes of being in season, you've got, say, probably 2 team training sessions and maybe a game in there as well. So with that, we'll be looking at maybe 1 to 2 speed sessions, getting that in 30-40 minutes before your team trainings because you're already on the pitch. Maybe 1 to 2 gym sessions, mixture of full body, upper body, or maybe a lower body and an upper body session. Ideally getting the lower body session in maybe after your team session, keeping your high days high so that you've got more time to recover in between your sessions so that you can feel fast, you can feel fresh, you can feel explosive and actually hit the high intensity outputs that you want when it comes to going onto the pitch then. But most importantly, the big thing here is actually implementing that plan consistently. Not for 6 weeks, not for 12 weeks, but for 6, 12 months, season after season, year after year, because again, it's that compound effect. That's where the real magic happens. There's no point in being on it for a couple of weeks, off it for a few weeks, on it, off it. You're not going to make any real progress that way. Yes, you can make some good progress in a short period of time, but if you think of that short period of time, the progress that you can make there, like think of the progress that you can make in, say it's 3 months, think of the progress you can make in 6, 9, 12, 3 years. That's where the real magic and the real progress is going to be. Right, so you've got your training program in place, you know what you need to be doing, you've got clear action steps there, you look at your week, you know what you're doing day to day, you know that you're getting your high intensity work done, you've got your low intensity days to recover, and you're stepping out on the pitch feeling right fast, sharp, and you know you're ticking all the boxes, you're confident that you've got all the work done from an actual training standpoint. How do we take that on to the next level then? And the big thing is going to be nutrition. So when it comes to nutrition, there's 1 or 2 key things that we need to nail in order to feel confident and be confident that we have the right nutrition strategy in place. On one hand, it's knowing that you've been fueled up properly for each session, you're recovering well in between, you have plenty of energy going into your sessions then. And then the other side of it is you want to manage your body composition to be in a good spot that you can look, feel and perform like an athlete. And as much as we talk about nutrition and as much knowledge and value and information is out there these days, it's still probably one of the biggest areas that players struggle with. They continuously either overeat at certain times or undereat. Underfueled, they actually don't realize how much fuel they actually need to get in. That's probably one of the most common things that I get is whenever players inside the program, they look at the carb loading days, they're like, fuck, I didn't realize that's how much carbs I actually had to get in. So you might think, right, I'm horsing all the pasta into me and getting bread in, fucking cereals and all the rest. But when it comes to looking at how much you actually need to get in, there can be a gap between what you think you need to do and what you actually need to do. And that's probably one of the most common things we see with players across the country. One of the best ways to figure out if nutrition is the limiting factor is, on paper, you're doing all the right things from a training standpoint. You know you've done the work consistently for a period of months. You know that you're fit enough. You've done all the work. You've got the evidence there. You've ticked all the boxes. You see the numbers improving. But when it comes to maybe the odd training session, games, you still feel slow, you feel sluggish, you feel like you can't get up and down the pitch, and you just feel like I should be further ahead than, for the amount of work and training that I've done, I should be actually further ahead than where I am right now. If that's the case, and you can honestly hand on heart say that you've done absolutely everything from a training standpoint, and you've been following one of our programs, so you know that's the case, then there's a high possibility that that's your nutrition that you need to look at. And probably the biggest problem I see with players when it comes to nutrition is the short-term thinking. They think, right, I've got a game coming up here on Saturday, Friday I need to do my carb load, and then that's me good to go. Or worse still, they think, right, I've got a game here Saturday 3 o'clock, 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock, I'll get a big bowl of pasta into me, get my carbs in, because you know that 3-4 hours out from a game is the most important meal. That is not the case. So when we look at our fueling for game day, it's literally a week-long process. Yes, the carb load the day before is important, but throughout the week, we want to not let the tank run empty. So essentially, if our energy expenditure is here, we want to match that. So ideally around in-season especially, we want to be around that maintenance level. Say, for example, we're expending 3,000 calories, we want to match that by taking 3,000 calories in. Now, again, this isn't going to be exact. A lot of players be looking at the likes of whoops or watches or whatever to see how many calories they're expending. I wouldn't so much be looking at that. You can maybe use it as a gauge and you can use it to see where you're at. But the main thing, you've got different formulas there that you can go on. Same way when you're working out your calories, you can use those formulas. but it's just an estimate at the end of the day. There is going to be an element of trial and error. The best way to look at it is, right, gauge the intensity of your session, work out the numbers that you should be getting in terms of your activity level, your height, body weight and all that crack, and then monitor your average body weight week to week. If your body weight is massively dropping off, then you're probably under fueling. If you're in a calorie deficit and you're looking to drop body fat, that's grand, as long as you're doing it right, which we'll go into in a second. Or if your body weight is going way up and you're not meaning it to go way up, then you're overshooting the calories. So just keeping an eye on that and making sure that we're balancing things out there. But yeah, the problem is short-term thinking. We want to keep the tank topped up throughout the week and not let the tank run empty. So if we have a big session on Monday, we want to replenish that so that we come into our next session field and repeat that process throughout the week. Then when we get our carb load, we top the stores up and then we can run through them in game day and we have those reserved there. The problem we see with so many players is that as the week runs on, they maybe do a big session on Monday, they under fuel, then they go into a big session on a Wednesday, for example, they're under fueling again and they're not topping that up, and then they might get say they have a game on a Friday, they might do a carb load on Thursday and it might only bring them back up to baseline, but then they burn through those stores in the first half and then they run on empty for the second half. So essentially when it comes to carb loading and fueling, like the whole week matters. If you're under fueling for 5 days, but then fueling for 1 or 2 days, like it's not going to be as effective as it could be. So the main thing to take away from that, don't let the tank run empty throughout the week. And then whenever you actually do your carb load the day before the game, then it's going to be far more effective and going to yield better results. So as we're sort of saying there, like the ideal scenario in season is that you're working towards like your maintenance. So ideally the body composition work should be done. You should be feeling like you have a good amount of muscle mass there. You should be feeling like the body fat is at a low enough position that you just need to focus on fueling for sessions, recovering well in between and maintaining the sort of body composition that you're at. But that's not always the case. All right, that's the ideal scenario. Sometimes we're going to have extra body fat on that we need to get down. You've identified that's the limiting factor, or you might be maybe a younger player pushing through into senior, or you might just naturally be a bit skinny and you want to put a bit of size on because you're playing against bigger players who are hitting you harder and you're maybe getting pushed off the ball too easy and you know that's a limiting factor. So there's a couple of things to look at here. So obviously when we're dropping body fat initially, we need to be in a slight calorie deficit. So when we look at our week then, essentially the game day is still going to be the most important day. So say from Monday to Friday, if our game's on a Sunday, for example, Monday to Friday can be our deficit days where we're slightly under fueling, like because we're in a calorie deficit, so for 5 days. But then whenever it comes to the weekend and we've got our 2 days, we've got Saturday and Sunday, we've got Saturday as our carb load, we've got Sunday as our game, they're essentially our performance days where we want to bring the calories up the maintenance level so that we can still fuel properly for the game or fuel as best we can for the game and recover as effectively as possible after the game. As a whole, because we've got 5 days in a deficit and 2 days at maintenance, we are still going to be in a calorie deficit and we still should be losing body fat. Maybe not at the rate at which you would like, or it's not going to be as quick as possible, but we're managing expectations because we're trying to manage the body composition while still performing. The outcome being it might take you a wee bit longer to get to the position that you want to be in, but you're doing it in a way that's sustainable, it's effective, and you're not just cutting everything and feeling like your energy's on the floor. On the flip side of that, if we're looking to gain muscle mass and we're looking to build size and add a bit of weight as we go throughout the season, again, we just want to be doing that in a slow and steady way. We don't want to see massive spikes and increases in weight week on week on week. A good rate to look at is around like 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per month. So if you're gaining a kilo a week, you can be pretty confident that the high amount of that is going to be body fat. And if we're massively increasing our body fat throughout the season, that's going to also have a negative impact on our performance. It's going to be harder to recover, it's going to be harder to get around the pitch, not going to feel as sharp, we're going to feel sluggish, going to be more inflammation in the body, and yeah, like putting on body fat in season is one thing that we definitely want to avoid. Putting on a lot of body fat at any time is something we want to avoid, but yeah, putting on a lot of body fat throughout the season is one way to, I suppose, minimize your performance. The other side of that, if you're obviously trying to gain muscle and you're looking to build muscle and get that a bit bigger, just watch from a training standpoint that we're not completely annihilating ourselves in the gym. So yes, we need to overload, we need to get a decent bit of volume, bring the intensity, but not to the extent that it takes away from the main thing. If you check out my upper body video, I literally just spoke about that, finding that balance between building muscle in season, training to get that wee bit bigger, but then keeping the main thing in terms of performance on the pitch. So check out that video and I'll cover it in a bit more detail there. Right, so far we've covered training, we've covered nutrition, which are obviously big parts of it, but number 3 is probably the biggest part, and it's often the part that a lot of players forget about. So when you think you're training nutrition, from a training standpoint, you're maybe training 2 hours max per day. When it comes to your nutrition, you might have a series of 4 or 5 eating opportunities in the day, if you add up the time that takes, it's not a massive amount of time in the week. So what it comes down to is your lifestyle, and that's the third thing that we're going to cover today. If you think your lifestyle, like, that covers so much more time than what we spend eating, prepping food, and training, I suppose, as well. And probably the biggest quote that I go off here that stood by me since I read the book Atomic Habits is every action is a vote for the type of person you want to become. I've actually sort of flipped it and tweaked it and just changed it to every action is a vote for the type of player that you want to become. So everything that you do throughout your day, throughout your life, throughout your week, is that either building you towards the goal of becoming the best player that you want to be, or is it taken away from that? Don't get me wrong, there's going to be times where we have trade-offs, we want to go out, want to enjoy ourselves, enjoy the social life, 100%, but we just have to be smart with where we pick our battles. It's what we do on a consistent basis that is going to represent, it's going to be reflected in the results that we get. So essentially our lifestyle needs to complement our performance. And again, I've been on both sides of this. I've been on the side where I've been out in the piss every weekend, I've been drinking, at least once every week, maybe 2 days, maybe a Friday and a Saturday, down on a Sunday, trying to carry that into the next week and just being off the pace for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe feeling okay come Thursday, Friday, and then repeating the whole thing over and over again. As a result, energy was down, performance in sessions was down. It was still probably ticking the boxes in terms of getting sessions done, but the intensity I was bringing to the training, my recovery in between my shite, the performance that the results that I was getting long term was nowhere near where I wanted to be, and I was picking up injuries, picking up niggles, put on a good bit of body fat, and just my whole enjoyment of playing just went fucking through the floor, and it was the worst season that I've ever had to date. Whereas we flip it now, yes, I still enjoy the occasional night out, enjoy a trip away, whenever I go away, let the hair down, but the big thing is you need to learn when to pick your battles. If you're saying yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. It's just about managing, weighing up the trade-offs. Is that 1 or 2 nights out, is that going to be worth feeling like shit, suffering, energy being on the floor, recovery being impacted for a couple of days? Sometimes it is going to be, and that's 100%, go for it. But coming into the championship season, the high possibility is those nights out aren't going to be massively worth it. So learn when to pick your battles, know when to say no. And I completely understand, like, summer can be a tricky time. There's a lot of social events on, there's concerts on, there's nights out, there's holidays and all the rest. But when you can sort of plan ahead and you can see what's coming up, it's a lot easier to do that then. And I talk a lot about planning your training, planning your nutrition, but it's also important to plan fun and a bit of crack and a bit of downtime into your week and into your month and into your year as well. So if you know you have an event coming up and it's going to be one where you're going, right, I'm going after it, maybe it's a stag, a holiday, concert, whatever it is, you think, right, I have this coming up in a month, sweet, we're going to keep the head down, work hard here for a month, we're going to go away, going to let the hair down a wee bit, and then we're going to get straight back to it. That is 100%, that will not do any damage to you. The problem is when it's the couple of drinks turns into a night out every week, every other week, where it's a Friday night here, do you want to go for a few pints? I will go have a few. You have 5 pints, you end up in the nightclub, you're down the neek day, it turns into like maybe eating shit food, energy not great, maybe the session that you're meant to get done gets pushed back another day, and it just has that knock-on effect. Like, imagine if you do that week on week on week. Might not seem like an awful lot week to week, but I guarantee after 4, 5, 6 weeks, you're going to see a massive difference in your energy, your performance, your body composition, and just generally how you're feeling and performing on the pitch. So when it comes to your lifestyle, like, there's so many different things that we can look at. The first thing that I personally go to is looking at your sleep. All right, so you've got your training, you've got nutrition. What's your sleep like? Sleep is where the magic happens in terms of recovery. That's where you're building yourself up. That's where you're regenerating and actually giving yourself the energy for the next day and giving yourself the adaptations from all the work that you're doing. You've got then your weekend social life. That's probably the big one. A lot of people, when they think lifestyle, it's like, right, what are you doing at the weekends? Are you going out on the piss, sitting in the bar all weekend, or are you maybe going out for a walk, meeting up with mates, getting a wee bit of extra work done, just enjoying your downtime and switching off? Like, are you building and are you breaking? Are you building yourself towards the goal that you want to get to, or are you breaking yourself down and pulling yourself away from that? As well as that, then, like, things that we don't normally think about, like managing stress, planning your week out in advance, getting outside, getting sunlight, then, like, all these wee small things. Are you sitting scrolling on your phone for ages, listening to shit, watching shit that just fucking stresses you out? There's starting to create that sort of anxiety. Like, just doing things that make you feel that wee bit better. If you ever think, oh, there's too much in that, there's too much to look at, there's too many things to think about, think of, like, the vision and the version of the player that you would want to become. And then think of your future you in 5, 6, 7 years time, when you're at your prime, when you're at your peak. The one friend that's always stood by me, what would that version of me do? How would you act? How would you think? How would you behave? What would you be doing day to day? How would you train? How would you eat? How would you live your life on a daily basis? What standards, actions, habits, behaviors would you have in place? And it's just about trying to put them in place now. And if you execute on them consistently, it's going to get you to that level there. I suppose one final point on the lifestyle side of things is looking at your circle as well. So if you look at the people around you, there's that quote, like, you're the average of the 5 people you hang about with. If you're in the group and you see your group, they're doing certain things, you can question, right, if the group are doing this and I'm doing this with them every week, what direction are they heading in? Is that aligned with where you're going, or is it a case of you want to be going this way, but this is kind of pulling you off this way, and then it's about having those difficult conversations or making those difficult decisions that you're going to start veering the other way to stay on your track or on path towards where you want to go. Not saying you have to become a boring bastard and not go out and not socialise. 100% do it when the chance comes, when the opportunity comes, but be smart and pick your battles with that. So to sum that up, there might be a lot in that, but again, we relate it back to the 3 key high performance habits: your training, your nutrition, and your lifestyle. All right, understand what direction it is that you want to get to, understand where it is that you want to go, and then from that, what would that version of you do? How would you train, eat, live your life? And then we want to start putting those actions, habits, and behaviors in place, but more importantly, we want to follow them and execute on them consistently, because it's what we do on a consistent basis is what gets us towards where we want to be. And as we said at the start of the video, confidence comes from knowing that the work's been done in the background. So if you're ticking those boxes day to day, you mightn't notice a massive difference day to day, week to week, but I guarantee when you're executing on that month to month, season after season, year after year, the progress that you see and the improvements that you see are absolutely massive. Unfortunately, there's no shortcuts to it. It is hard work. It does require you to be consistent, but it is the quickest way to get there, rather than being in for short periods of high intensity, off it for a while, on it, off it, on it, off it. There, you're not really making any improvements. You're maybe going up for a bit, you're dropping back, you're going up for a bit, dropping back. Whereas if you're committed to continuous growth improvement, season after season, year after year, year after year, you're continuously pushing the bar, you're continuously pushing the standard. Again, you're going to be confident because you've got the work done, you have the evidence there, and you have the experience on the pitch. So if there's one thing that you take from this video, make sure you're doing the work consistently over time, and I guarantee the confidence will come with that. So if you enjoyed this video and you like the stuff that you're talking about here and you want to learn about it in a bit more detail, or you want to work with us to take your performance to the next level, check out the links down below with a couple of different ways that we can help you do that. As always, make sure you like and subscribe. Much appreciated whenever you do subscribe. There's a lot of you that view the videos but aren't actually subscribed, so it would mean the world if you can actually go and hit that button. You're only pressing the wee button at the end of the day. But yeah, cheers for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.